Hello, and welcome to another episode of SciTech Long Island. My name is Ben Baruch.
And I'm Scott Sandor.
Today, we are going to talk about Emerald Brand, a company that specializes in creating sustainable, disposable products. With us is Jacqueline McDovey, the Managing Director of Emerald Brand, who's going to tell us a little bit about the company.
Yes, thank you, sure. So Emerald Brand is a group that was started in the late 90s, and the goal of Emerald is really to bring sustainable disposable products to everyone that we can, making it possible for people to make responsible choices when they look at their disposables. So the brand was built around the concept of sustainability, and a lot of the products are compostable as well as biodegradable, and we can talk a little bit more about that as well.
Yeah, so you say compostable, biodegradable, sustainable. Mm-hmm. What do you mean by that?
Sure, so when we talk about sustainable, sustainability is something that we define at Emerald as having a resource that's you utilize it, but you never eventually run out of it, right? So when we look at trees, for example, we're cutting down trees at such an alarming rate.
And they're eventually going to be gone.
They're eventually going to be gone, yeah. Exactly.
So these are products that could last, well, not necessarily that the products will last, but we'll have the materials to last for much longer than, say, a tree.
Exactly. So when we looked at alternatives to trees for tissue products, for example, we wanted something that was rapidly renewable, that we would be able to grow back very quickly. So we decided to use sugarcane in our paper production. Sugarcane grows back in about a year. It's a 12-month cycle. So it keeps growing over and over again, whereas a tree could take 20 to 30 years to grow back in order to be cut down again. So it's a much more renewable way to produce paper.
And faster.
Yes.
So your company is pioneering an alternative to tree paper, mm-hmm. something the world has never even thought of for a long time, right? So what was your inspiration to start the business, and how did you get it going?
Sure. So the founder of our group had a background in disposable products in the food service industry. That's where he worked. So when he decided to start his own group, he had looked at a lot of these products over the course of his career, and he felt like there was a better way to do it. So that was really the inspiration behind starting a brand like this. And ever since then, over the next 15 years, we just kept expanding on the brand, adding more products, looking at not only alternatives to tree fiber, but also alternatives to petroleum-based plastics. So that was really the inspiration behind it, and from there we just kept expanding.
Mm-hmm. I mean, now you say petroleum-based plastics. Mm-hmm. So what's your alternative to that?
So as an alternative to petroleum, we use what we call bio-based plastics. Most plastic that you see out there, whether it's a plastic fork or a plastic bag that you could get at the grocery store, it comes from petroleum. It ultimately comes from oil. We know that we want to move away from fossil fuels.
Now, what's the disadvantages of petroleum fossil fuels?
Sure. So petroleum-based plastics will ultimately never really go away. So when you throw out a plastic fork, it'll keep breaking down into smaller and smaller pieces, but it never really goes away. So we can see there are a lot of actually really interesting documentaries out there, and photos and videos of all of the plastic that's in the ocean right now. It never biodegrades. It never goes back into the earth. So we're seeing a lot of issues with litter. And
pollution
harming,
of the ocean as
exactly, well. Pollution out there in the ocean particularly. So.
Mm-hmm, yeah, it's very bad for fish these days. I mean, I'm from the South Shore, so I've seen a lot of the splash boats going around talking, and they've been cleaning up the ocean, something that I bet you guys support a lot.
Mm-hmm, yeah, Operation Splash is great.
Yeah. So, you guys also are. You guys are a small company. You're family based. Mm-hmm. How do you guys plan to get up there in the big consumer market of competing with products such as Kleenex and Puffs tissues and all that stuff?
Yeah, that's a really good question. We are a smaller group, and like many other revolutions, it usually starts small, right? And so the way that we see really climate change being impacted by us and younger people like us who are ultimately going to make this change is communication. We have to get the message out there that people have a better choice. They have a more responsible choice. Every time they go to the supermarket, they can choose to buy something that's less responsible or more responsible for the planet. And it's really about getting the message out there and communicating that to people and educating them.
How have you and how do you plan to do that?
So this is one way, is meeting with you all.
We're very happy to have you guys here.
Yeah, so certainly doing things like this where we can reach the public and teach people that there are choices out there that are better for the environment and for themselves and their families. Certainly things like this, getting our message out through the business world as well. So we're able to go into very big facilities and convert them over to these types of products. And those facilities make a very big impact because there are a lot of people in them every day eating and using the restroom and all of that. So getting our communications out through them as well has been very impactful for us.
Mm-hmm. Now also you guys obviously probably won't only have to save the world, but you'll probably have to save people's wallets as well. How do you guys plan to compete financially with some of these other companies? Because at the end of the day, probably what's going to be cheaper is going to be more influential for people to buy.
Yeah, that's a really good point, and that's something that we knew from the beginning would be a challenge. When most people think about going green or being sustainable and more environmental,
it's expensive.
They think it's expensive. Exactly. We specifically built the brand so that it wouldn't be more expensive. That was a really, really important thing for us, so that it would be easy for people to make that responsible choice. Because even if you really want to do something responsible, if you can't afford it, you won't do it. So that was a big thing for us to make the brand cost competitive.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we have seen that this company is on its way up. It'll probably save your buck, and it's a great company. It's a great incentive. We'll be back in a few minutes with the rest of the show.
The next time you look up at the night sky, just think. Each point of light is a sun, and likely has orbiting planets. In fact, astronomers searching one small sliver of the sky have found nearly 1,000 worlds so far. We're surrounded by solar systems. And as we learn more about the universe around us, NASA is developing capabilities on Earth and in space to send astronauts further into our solar system than ever before, to an asteroid, Mars, and beyond. To follow the journey as NASA expands human presence beyond Earth, visit nasa.gov.
Hello, and welcome back to SciTech Long Island. Here we are today with Jacqueline McDuffie, the Managing Director of Emerald Brand. So, how can we get Emerald in our schools?
Well, getting Emerald into your schools, I think, is a little bit of it's a two-pronged answer. One, people have to know what options are out there that are more sustainable, that are more environmental than what they're using now. And so that's through a lot of communication. And two, getting the students behind some of these movements in order to more or less push their schools to make a change. It's sometimes you forget as a student that you're the consumer, you're the ultimate consumer of the products that are being used in your facility and your school. And so you have a lot of say over what you want to use and what you feel is better for the environment and for yourself. So certainly getting students involved and getting them to be vocal about making a change, and it can happen, and we've seen it happen many, many times.
I mean, we almost had it happen ourselves. Like I think you guys came to our school not too long ago, and we almost had a petition. Hopefully that could get picked up, and we'll get products like these in our school.
So
yeah, absolutely.
Students, what are the ways students could get involved? Like, what physical action could they take to get this involved?
Sure. So some of the things we've seen done in the past is we've actually seen students go out and into their facility, into their school, and start to write down and keep track of all the products that their school is using in the disposable world. So what toilet paper are they using? What cutlery are they using in the cafeteria? What types of bowls and plates? And then working with their school and their purchasing department to determine if those are the most environmental options out there and if there are better ones. So actually getting feet on the ground and really starting to be aware of what you're actually using now is a great way to get started.
But how could we get them excited about it?
Well, how do we get them excited about it? Well, I think it comes down to education and communicating. If people don't know that there are better options than a plastic fork, because there's a bio-based plastic fork that will biodegrade and
looks
go
much
away.
and looks much better and probably acts much better.
Well, I'm glad.
This is pretty high quality stuff right here.
Yeah, it is. And you know, really educating people that those options are out there, I think is number one. And also getting people to understand, like I said, what they're using now and how it could be detrimental to the environment and how there are better choices.
So, I mean, I picked up this fork a lot, and we also have plenty of props here on stage. We have the tissue here, and what is it made from?
This is actually made from sugarcane bagasse. So rather than cutting down trees to produce our tissue products, we produce it from an agricultural fiber. We talked a little bit earlier about renewable resources and how agricultural fiber is a lot better than trees because it grows back every year versus a tree that could take 20 to 30 years. So that's what you're looking at here when you look at the tissue paper.
And it's much more comfortable than a lot of the tree stuff that we use a lot of times.
It's soft, yeah.
It is very soft.
soft.
There are tissues here also, probably
Yes.
made from the same thing,
Yep,
correct?
the tissues are made from the same agricultural fiber. Yep, exactly.
You have lunch trays over here that could definitely be used in schools. Two
Yeah.
compartments on each side made from?
Made from sugarcane. So this is pretty crazy, but would you believe that this and this are made from the same thing?
I would not guess. I thought
Yeah.
that was more.
Yeah.
Is sugarcane easy to access? Is it?
That's a great question. It is actually. It's easy to access. You can imagine how much sugar we eat, right? So that sugar is grown mostly in the southeast of the U.S., but also all over the world. Sugar is a very, very big crop. So it is very accessible, and there's a lot of
Definitely
it.
good for our economy too.
Yeah.
So you have this thing called What's Your Why? So you told us it's your video campaign. So explain to us what it is and what it does and how it helps us.
Sure. So What's Your Why? It was started about 1.5 years ago, and it really started as a campaign that lasted a lot longer than we thought it would. And the purpose behind it was to go out to random consumers as well as people within our own company and get them to think about the reasons that they care about the environment. A lot of people don't take the time to sit down and think about why they enjoy our planet so much. So that's what we ask them to do.
Most people take just stuff for granted
They
these
take
days.
it for granted, exactly. So it was really, it was a great campaign that got people to really think about that. And we launched it about 1 year ago. And we just actually did an event at Columbia University in Manhattan where all of their students also told us their why they care about the environment. So it was really an awareness campaign. And when we talk about how you get people excited about sustainability and environmental products, that was one of the ways that we did that.
I mean, these days it's like climate change and like cutting down a forest, it's become like a political issue. I mean, we've seen presidents take the stand and say that this is like one of the biggest issues concerning our planet today, more than like stuff that you'd think is much more threatening.
Right.
It's affecting our lives every single day. Every time we throw out a piece of paper, we're obviously like we're obviously affecting our world, and it's gonna, what we do now is gonna affect the next generation and the generation after that. So we really need to start doing these things now. This is a great way to do it.
Absolutely, yeah.
So you spoke about awareness, right? So from awareness, we want to get into inspiration. So what can we do to inspire people to go green?
What can we do to inspire people to go green? I think that they have to feel a connection to the planet and to the earth, and really start to step back and look at the bigger picture of things and think about all of the things that the planet gives us that we do take for granted. If you step back and think about that, you'll start to feel a need to protect it. And that's certainly what we've seen happen over the last decade, really, is that people are looking at that. And then the other way is, like we were talking about, it's actually becoming a big political issue, which for us is great because that's how we're starting to educate people as well. When the President of the United States gets up on the podium and talks about climate change and how big of a problem it is, that inspires people as well. So having leaders out there that are talking about this and putting it to the front of the newspapers and the TV channels is very important as well.
All right, so we're gonna wrap up this segment.
Great.
And when we come back, we're gonna talk about how students can get directly involved with it.
A number of external pressures are making going green a top concern for U.S. executives. Globally, governments are exerting pressure on businesses to do more in reducing the negative impact their operations have on the environment. Along with that, businesses are feeling the pressure from the physical world as well. Even if it is possible to ignore the impact your operations have on such things as carbon emissions, there's no way they can ignore the shortages of natural resources. A shortage of resources that go into your products or are necessary to make or move your products is a direct threat to the success of your business. Enterprising manufacturers are discovering that adopting environmentally sound, green practices can be a boost to profitability. In the 1990s, my father recognized that there was a need for better, more sustainable consumable and disposable products at affordable pricing. In 1997, the Emerald brand was born, producing eco-friendly and tree-free products. Our goal is to produce quality products for your business that minimize your carbon footprint at pricing that is cost neutral or less than non-green alternatives and being delivered with the same quality you're used to. Research shows that businesses that are proactive with their sustainability efforts will benefit through tax incentives and government subsidies, if they're not already. Emerald brand products are made from highly renewable, eco-friendly materials. Materials like bagasse, a residue left over after sugarcane has been juiced. When we use bagasse to produce our products, we avoid cutting down new trees and therefore do not contribute to deforestation. Just one of the benefits of using Emerald brand products. Applying green processes to your workplace creates a healthy environment for employees, reduces unnecessary waste, and can promote your business as a leader in social change. Our low-risk implementation makes transitioning to sustainable products seamless. This process is conducted in 3 simple steps: data collection, analysis and environmental impact, and finally, implementation. From start to implementation takes between 10 and 14 business days, making this an efficient strategy to implement in a short amount of time. Your return is immediate. If you and your company are ready to be positioned on the forefront of sustainability, take a big step in the right direction. Choose Emerald brand, making responsible choices possible.
Hello and welcome back to SciTech Long Island. We are continuing our discussion with Jacqueline McDuffie about Emerald brand consumer products. So we mentioned that we're going to talk about how students can get directly involved with Emerald.
Yes.
So you guys have an internship program. Would you care to tell us about that a little bit?
Sure. So internships are a really important part of what we do at Emerald. Because we're a product development company, we're always looking for people who are thinking outside of the box, thinking of new potential products that we can produce, and able to do research and development on potential new raw materials that we can use. Perhaps there are things out there other than sugarcane that we can look at for talent tissue, for example. These are all of the things that we look to interns for, to come to us and bring those ideas, and then hopefully ultimately end up working for the company full time.
Now, how do you usually get them to do that?
So we're always out there. We do a lot of internship program opportunities at some colleges in the area, but as well as certain high schools. So working with Great Neck schools and looking to recruit some interns there.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the programs we do are summer internships, and then we also do year-round internships for students who are able to actually come during day hours, Monday through Friday, and work a couple of hours a week that way.
Are there any incentives for internships?
Yeah, so we do paid internships as well as giving credit to students for certain classes. So if the school can participate in that, we do that as well.
Definitely something high school students should be very interested in.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great learning experience and definitely a place where you're able to get creative and really think outside of the box.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely something very crucial.
Especially creativity is so important for especially high schoolers. I mean, just to find their talents and use them for good, not just for themselves, not to keep it inside, but for the good of others. So I want to expand upon, so kids are going to apply with applications. So what are some tips you could give us about that?
Okay, so one of the main ways that people apply for internships is they go on our website, and there's a career section where they can actually submit their resume and a little bit about themselves. We found a number of interns that way. Another way that we've found interns is they've actually shown up at our door. So, knocking on the door is it seems old-fashioned, but it's actually a great way that people have introduced themselves to us. And when you put a face to a name, sometimes that's a great way to recruit people. So.
Have you ever looked into looking into these many science competitions throughout Long Island and throughout the Northeast or even the U.S., maybe finding some potential talent?
That's a really great idea, and that's something that we're definitely looking to in the future, absolutely. Like I mentioned, we're always looking for research and development people, so having someone in the scientific community that's science-minded and really interested in that is crucial to us. So working with some of those competitions is a great way to do that, yes.
Now that said, expanding your global, well, not necessarily global, but national talent search, how do you plan to expand your company?
That's a really good question. So right now the brand is in about 38 states across the U.S. It's definitely a big part of expanding in that way is education, is getting people in other states to understand what a bio-based fork is versus a petroleum-based fork. So definitely communicating and getting the message out is the main way to do that. And what we're finding is as people learn more about sustainability and more about the alternative options that are out there, they're more willing to make that choice, but they have to be aware of it. Otherwise, they don't know that choice is out there. They can't make it, right?
So what types of students are you looking for?
So we're always looking for students that are willing to learn. That's extremely important. Having an open mind and really absorbing everything that goes on in our company is really important. Because we're an entrepreneurial company, we're very fast-paced. So being able to keep up with a fast-paced environment is really important. But also always having an open mind and like I said, using your creativity and not being afraid to come up with something and announce it to the group and say, I have an idea. That's really important. Some of our greatest ideas in product development have come from interns.
Do they have to be kids who are only interested in science?
No, definitely not. So we've worked with interns on the communication side as well in marketing. We've had interns that help draft big press releases for us. So definitely there are places in the company that really have a lot of different needs. Science is one of them. And it's a very important one, but also communication is a very important one. So finding people who are interested in getting our message out is crucial as well.
So you mentioned that it's really the job of people to educate the students. So you're on a TV show in front of hopefully a couple thousand people. What are you telling potential teachers who are watching this program to educate their students?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, we did speak at a school recently where the main purpose of us being there was that the teacher wanted to teach their students about climate change and about the different ways that we can impact climate change and make it not as big of an effect, right? So to all the teachers out there, definitely try to teach your students about the different options that are out there, research them, educate yourself, and bring in experts to talk about it as well, because there are plenty of experts out there in sustainability that are willing to spread the message.
So you guys have many ways that you're hopefully going to recruit interns, and one of these ways is your poster contest. So how can students get involved in this poster contest?
Yeah, so the poster contest is a really exciting contest that we're looking forward to doing. We're essentially asking students to come up with a 2D poster. So 2D meaning, yeah, poster, a photograph or a painting or any type of creative piece of art that helps communicate to people that there are sustainable disposable choices out there. One of the many ways that we can do that, and I think getting students involved and using their creativity to make that happen is going to be exciting.
So your company has allowed sugar canes to be used, not just for sugar, but using the other parts of it and be used for other useful products like toilet paper. So how can Emerald affect not just a few people, but the whole country on a national level?
Yeah, so that's a really good point. And when we look at when we look at our finished products, a big thing that we look at is the supply chain. So not just the product itself at the end product, but where it came from and all the people that it affected along the way. So by utilizing sugarcane bagasse, the bagasse is actually the piece of the sugarcane stalk that we use to make paper. Traditionally, that bagasse was thrown away or burned. So it was really useless to farmers. Now we can purchase that from farmers, so we're giving them an additional source of income. Other than the sugar, now they can sell the stalk, and we're able to produce an environmental product from it. So these are the ways that we're trying to affect not only the consumer and the end user of the product, but also the entire supply chain up to that finished good.
Speaking of a national expansion, you guys have a bag that you guys made up.
Yeah.
That's a reusable bag, and you guys a lot of states now are actually banning plastic bags, which is great for you guys. So what's your take on this?
Yeah, I think it's a great movement. It's extremely important. We know that plastic bags are a major problem, specifically in the oceans. Being on Long Island, we see that a lot of animals in the ocean, as well as birds, are harmed because they're eating these plastic bags. So I think it's a great movement, banning plastic bags. It's happening in parts of California as well.
In Hawaii.
In Hawaii. So we see that legislation is moving forward to make changes there. And we've always been a big proponent of using reusable bags, so we actually produce them as well. So this is an example of one. Right. Yes.
Well, we're going to end this show, and we're going to challenge every school, every student, every teacher watching this program to get involved, to make a difference in your community, to say that even though I am only a student, I can make a difference. I can change this world. I could use a reusable bag instead of a regular bag. I could use this toilet paper instead of tree toilet paper. I could do my part in saving the world. Jacqueline, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you, guys.
And we hope to see you again in the future.
I care because our future matters.
I want my children to live in a world with drinkable water, blue skies, and clean air.
If I don't care now, I'm setting her up for trouble.
I care because my career has taught me how finite our resources really are.
Without preserving where we live, we destroy everything that is real and beautiful around us.
I just really like nature.
I enjoy feeling the dirt in my hands. It makes me feel one with the earth.
I care because it's the right thing to do.
We need to keep our planet clean and safe.
And appreciate everything it gives us every day.
Growing up, talk about global warming was just talk. Years later, we see that our lack of action has proven to be disastrous.
There just isn't enough to sustain the next 5 generations.
It is our responsibility to take care of our future and the future of all life on this planet.
In learning about the products I've used and the toxins I've brought into my home, I've made a decision to make a change for the better.
Our planet offers all the natural resources we need to survive.
And in return, we are polluting the oceans.
Rainforests have half as many trees, half as many homes for animals.
There's no reason that we shouldn't be using more sustainable materials.
The time to act is now.
When I was hiking through the rainforest, a local guide said, "Nature is medicine for the spirit."
We need nature.
Nature is the most pure form of beauty.
Sitting under a clear blue sky, gazing at the trees and the landscape.
Hiking when I was younger, spending time at the ocean.
Skiing, boating, climbing, biking.
Taking a walk in the woods, listening to the waves crash on a beach.
This is what I live for.
This is where creativity and inspiration come from.
I care because I'm a mom.
I am a realist.
A new father.
I care because I'm a human being.
I am hopeful.
I'm an adventurer.
An artist.
I am part of the solution.
Part of the solution.
We are the solution.